Ready for a deep dive into something truly fascinating. Today, we're going to be exploring TULWA philosophy.
Okay.
This is a path of personal transformation that's as intriguing as its origins are.
Interesting.
It all started with this guy, Frank Thomas Tindajuve,
Okay.
and he crafted this entire philosophy while navigating the depths of self-reflection in prison.
Wow. In prison.
Yeah. So talk about a quest for inner peace,
Right.
right?
Definitely. Yeah. What's captivating about TULWA is that it doesn't shy away from those shadowy corners we all have.
Right.
It dives right into the heart of transformation and kind of suggests that true growth requires confronting those less than ideal aspects head on.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so refreshing about it is that Tindajuve doesn't sugarcoat anything.
Yeah.
He lays it all out there, and it resonates with this raw, authentic feel.
Mm.
You really get the sense that he's saying, hey, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
But where do we even begin with a philosophy that was born behind bars?
Well, at its core, TULWA is built on three powerful principles: light, love, and unity.
Okay.
But these aren't just abstract concepts.
Wow.
He offers tangible ways to weave them into your daily life. Think of them as lenses to view your experiences through.
Okay, I love that lens is shaping our perspective.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little more for us?
Yeah. So imagine looking at the world through a grimy window.
Okay.
TULWA, with its emphasis on light, acts as like a cleaning agent, helping you wipe away the dirt and see things with this newfound clarity. And that clarity is what helps you make choices that genuinely align with your true self.
So no more muddled thinking or being blinded by superficiality or what Tindajuve calls muted light.
Yeah.
He's warning us against mistaking those fleeting appearances for genuine enlightenment.
Exactly.
It's about digging deeper, questioning those surface-level assumptions, and confronting the things that are holding us back.
Precisely. He's urging us to move beyond those shiny distractions and uncover the true essence of who we are.
And that's where love comes into play, right?
Absolutely. But this isn't solely about romance or anything like that.
Okay.
Tindajuve talks about love as this profound sense of compassion and empathy, not just for others, but crucially for ourselves. It's the invisible thread that binds us all.
It reminds me of that sense of interconnectedness you sometimes experience during meditation, that
Yeah,
feeling of being part of something much grander than ourselves.
exactly. Which leads us to the third principle, unity. TULWA stresses the interconnectedness of all things and kind of urges us to recognize the ripple effects of our actions within this intricate web of existence that we're all a part of.
So it's about owning our energy and understanding that we impact the world around us with every choice we make.
He reframes it not as pressure, but rather empowerment.
Right.
Like by grasping these principles and utilizing the tools that he provides, we can consciously create our own reality.
It's about taking the reins.
Yes.
Right. Now, he also mentions these four distinct lenses.
Yes.
The philosopher, the healer, the light warrior, and the unified light warrior.
Mm-hmm.
What's the significance of those?
So he's suggesting that within the framework of TULWA, there are multiple paths. You can choose different ways to embody its core principles,
Okay.
like embarking on your own personal adventure within the broader TULWA landscape.
So it's about finding the path within the path that resonates with you most deeply.
Exactly. For instance, the philosopher uses critical thinking and deep self-reflection as tools for understanding the world and their place in it.
Mm-hmm.
The healer focuses on inner healing and empowering others to do the same.
Okay.
And the light warrior,
Yeah.
they actively combat darkness both internally and externally.
And the unified light warrior that's like reaching the summit, isn't it?
You could say that.
The ultimate aspiration within TLWA.
The unified light warrior embodies the integration of all three lenses, so it's a fully realized spiritual warrior, if you will, embodying TULWA's principles in their entirety.
Now that's an inspiring image.
Yeah.
Speaking of inspiring, but perhaps a bit daunting, there's his concept of the point of no return. It sounds intense. Have you ever had one of those moments in your life where you realize there's no going back?
Oh, yeah.
You've crossed a threshold, and that's a point of no return.
It's a powerful concept,
Right.
right? He's talking about those pivotal moments in your journey where you simply can't go back to thinking or behaving in the old ways.
Right.
You've seen too much, experienced too much. It's like stepping through a doorway into a new reality.
Like choosing the red pill and accepting the truth no matter how challenging it might be.
Exactly. He emphasizes that these points of no return can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They often involve confronting difficult truths,
Sure.
but they are essential for growth. They're the catalyst that propels us forward.
So it's about leaning into the discomfort, trusting that it's ultimately leading us towards something bigger and better.
And speaking of something bigger, he also talks about this force, this it, that influences our lives in ways we might not even realize. He doesn't get too specific here, but he describes it as this like universal consciousness or maybe a network of beings existing beyond our usual perception.
Okay.
And these forces, he suggests, can both support and sometimes hinder our growth.
Okay, so we're venturing into the realm of unseen forces, both positive and negative,
Right.
shaping our lives in subtle ways. It's a bit like having a team of unseen coaches, you know,
Yeah.
some cheering us on, others maybe trying to throw us off our game.
That's a great analogy. And Tindajouv believes that by becoming aware of these subtle influences,
Okay.
we can better navigate their effects. He even suggests they might be communicating with us through numbers, no less.
Oh, hold on. Number synchronicities.
Yeah.
Like seeing 11.11 or repeating digits. Okay, you're really piquing my curiosity here.
Yeah.
But before we dive into that rabbit hole, let's ground ourselves with something a bit more tangible from the book, The Personal Release Sequence.
Right. This is where TULWA's practicality shines through. It's a powerful technique he shares for energetic self-care. So it's about reclaiming your power by consciously releasing any energy that doesn't serve you.
And it's something he insists should be shared freely.
Yes.
He doesn't hold back, does he? To create a tool like that from within a prison cell, talk about turning limitations into opportunities.
It speaks volumes about his belief in empowering others, you know? What I find insightful is his emphasis on releasing energy on all levels.
Okay.
Not just from like a stressful day, but from past experiences, even those we might not consciously remember.
Yep.
It's about clearing the energetic slate on a much deeper level.
So it's like hitting the reset button on our energy field.
Exactly. And the structure he provides with its emphasis on intention and gratitude is incredibly powerful. He's giving us a framework to actively shift our energy and create a more positive internal environment.
Because who couldn't use a little more positivity?
Yeah.
Right. But Tindajouv also cautions against something he calls spiritual bypassing, which I think is so relevant today.
Right. He's quite critical of using spirituality or self-help as a way to avoid confronting deeper issues.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
It's like slapping a positive affirmation on a deep wound without addressing what's festering beneath.
He sees it as a form of self-deception.
Yeah.
And he's urging us to be more honest with ourselves, to face those uncomfortable truths so real transformation can occur.
So no more bypassing the hard stuff. Right. Which seems like a perfect segue into his views on meditation and mindfulness. He presents them in a surprisingly grounded and accessible way.
He strips away the mystique, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In TULWA, meditation isn't about like disappearing into some blissful trance for hours on end.
Right.
It's about cultivating a more present, aware state of being in everyday life.
He even encourages being mindful while doing mundane tasks like brushing your teeth or washing dishes.
Absolutely.
It's about finding those small moments of presence amidst the busyness of life.
And his approach to mindfulness is similarly down to earth. You know, he encourages us to connect with our physical sensations, our environment, our breath. Simple yet profound practices to anchor ourselves to the present moment.
Speaking of connecting with ourselves, he's a big advocate for body scan techniques, right?
Absolutely. He sees it as a way to become aware of any tension or discomfort we might be holding on to unconsciously.
Right.
So by tuning into our bodies, we can begin to release those blockages.
I appreciate how he breaks down these practices in a way that makes them feel doable, even for beginners.
Yeah, he emphasizes that these aren't like esoteric practices reserved for a select few.
Right.
They're tools available to anyone seeking to cultivate more presence and peace in their lives.
And along those lines, he even shares his own stretching routine.
Right.
It's not every day you find a spiritual teacher who's also a stretching enthusiast.
It's intriguing how he connects stretching to both physical and spiritual preparedness.
Yeah.
It's like limbering up for the journey of transformation, both internally and externally.
And then there's standing contemplation, his unique take on traditional meditation.
Instead of sitting, he suggests simply standing upright, focusing on the breath, and cultivating a sense of grounding. He even suggests doing this in front of a mirror.
He calls it power mirroring, right?
Yes.
It sounds incredibly powerful and maybe a little intimidating. What's the thinking behind that?
He believes that facing yourself in the mirror while confronting challenging thoughts or emotions can be transformative.
Okay.
It's about looking those challenging parts of ourselves in the eye, so to speak. He even suggests focusing on specific isms that might be holding us back, egoism, perfectionism, you name it.
So it's about holding ourselves accountable, calling ourselves out on our own stuff.
Exactly. He's not advocating for self-criticism,
Right.
but rather for a compassionate yet courageous willingness to face those aspects of ourselves we might typically shy away from.
Which can be tough. But that seems to be a recurring theme in TULWA, embracing those challenging edges as catalysts for growth.
It's not always easy, but he encourages a sense of playfulness along the way.
Right, he even shares his recipe for the TULWA Light Warrior breakfast.
Yes.
It's not your average bowl of cereal, is it?
It's more of a ritual, a symbolic representation of the transformative journey. He compares it to the nutrient-rich goop consumed in the Matrix,
Okay.
fuel for the journey of awakening.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's in this power-packed breakfast?
Get ready for it. It involves a carefully crafted porridge with ingredients like chaga mushroom decoction and kombucha. He's very specific about the ingredients and their purported benefits.
That sounds intense.
It's definitely next level breakfast.
That's okay.
But he also encourages listening to your body and consulting a healthcare professional, emphasizing personal responsibility and choice.
So it's not about blindly following a recipe, but rather about finding what works for you.
Exactly. And that, I think, beautifully encapsulates the essence of TULWA philosophy. You know, it's about forging your own unique path to enlightenment, guided by these core principles and empowered by these practical tools.
It's about trusting your intuition, exploring what resonates, and leaving the rest behind. Now, remember those orbs we mentioned earlier?
Ah, yes, Tindajuv delves into their significance as well.
They're not just mysterious balls of light showing up in photographs, are they?
He sees them as potential manifestations of consciousness.
So our consciousness isn't just confined to our physical bodies. How might that change how we live our lives, knowing that our essence could extend beyond what we perceive?
He calls it electromagnetic consciousness, suggesting that our consciousness is more like an energy field that might exist independently of our physical forms.
Okay.
He even points to the phenomenon of people losing a small amount of weight at the moment of death as potential evidence.
So that feeling of something leaving the body could actually be our electromagnetic consciousness departing.
That's one of the intriguing possibilities he explores, and he connects this concept to orbs, suggesting they might be glimpses of that consciousness, perhaps even a form of communication from those who've passed on.
Certainly challenges our conventional understanding of life and death. Tindajuv definitely encourages us to think outside the box.
He's nudging us to expand our awareness of what's possible, suggesting that our reality is far vaster and more mysterious than we might normally imagine. And this connects to his ideas about influences on our consciousness, not just from within, but potentially from beyond our usual perception.
Okay, so we're not just talking about orbs anymore, but potentially other beings, maybe even from other dimensions, influencing our thoughts and actions. Now, this is where it gets really interesting and maybe a little spooky.
He refers to them as ID, short for interdimensional.
Okay.
And he suggests they can influence us on different levels, radiated, permeated, and inhabited.
Okay, I'm going to need you to break that down for me.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit like something out of a science fiction film.
Think of it like a spectrum of influence.
Okay.
Radiated is the most subtle, like a radio wave passing through you. Maybe a sudden wave of emotion, but without a clear source.
Like picking up on the energy of a crowd, but on a much subtler level.
Exactly. Permeated is more immersive, like being submerged in an energetic field that colors your perceptions and emotions,
Okay.
and then finally inhabited.
And that sounds like something you'd want to avoid.
He describes this as the most extreme form of influence, where another being might temporarily influence your thoughts or actions.
Okay, I have to admit that sends a shiver down my spine.
Yeah.
But Tindajuv wouldn't bring up these potentially unsettling concepts without offering guidance on protecting ourselves, right?
You're right. He emphasizes the importance of awareness as our first line of defense.
Okay.
By becoming more conscious of these subtle influences, we can learn to discern them and take steps to protect our energy.
So it's about strengthening our intuition, learning to trust those gut feelings that tell us when something feels off.
And cultivating a strong connection to our true selves. He suggests that the more aligned we are with our authentic nature, the less susceptible we are to these external influences.
That's like building up our spiritual immunity. And on that note, he also talks about the possibility of communicating with interdimensional beings through dreams, right?
He sees dreams as a powerful portal to these other realms, a way to receive guidance and insights from beyond our usual waking awareness.
He even suggests we can actively engage with these beings in our dreams.
He encourages us to approach our dream space with intention, perhaps even posing questions or asking for guidance before we sleep. It's like setting an intention to connect with a certain frequency before tuning into a radio station.
I've always been fascinated by dreams, but this takes it to a whole new level. And what about the numerology aspect? How does he suggest we might be receiving communication through numbers?
This is where his ideas about it, that universal consciousness, come into play. He proposes that it might communicate through repeating numbers, those synchronicities you mentioned earlier.
Like seeing 11.11 on the clock or finding repeating digits on license plates?
Precisely, he believes these number sequences could be messages from it, offering guidance, confirmation, or even warnings.
But he probably also cautions against getting overly fixated on interpreting every number we see, right?
You're right. He emphasizes using intuition and common sense, not blindly adhering to any specific interpretation system.
It's about staying grounded, even as we explore these more esoteric concepts.
Yeah.
And speaking of grounded, he also offers some pretty profound insights on AI. It seems a little unexpected in a philosophy focused on inner exploration.
It might seem counterintuitive, but he actually sees AI as a potent tool for personal growth. He believes it can help us access information and perspectives that might not be readily available through traditional means.
So not just for writing emails or composing music, but for plumbing the depths of consciousness itself.
Exactly. He even uses AI to engage in dialogues with historical and fictional figures.
What, like a philosophical chatbot?
You could say that he uses AI to tap into the wisdom of figures like Morpheus from The Matrix, or even historical figures like the Buddha.
That's fascinating. It's like having a direct line to these incredible minds. What kind of insights does he gain from these AI-powered dialogues?
He explores themes like belief transformation resilience and the nature of reality. It's like he's using AI to expand his understanding of the human experience, gathering wisdom from these diverse perspectives.
So he's taking this cutting-edge technology and weaving it into his exploration of ancient wisdom.
Mm.
That's pretty remarkable.
It speaks to his innovative spirit. He even discusses how AI could be used to create personalized support systems for those following the TULWA path.
Like AI mentors or coaches guiding us along the way.
Exactly. Imagine AI providing personalized guidance, encouragement, and even a sense of accountability as we navigate our individual journeys.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Mm.
He's really thought through how technology can serve our personal growth. Now, when it comes to community, Tindajuv seems to have a very specific vision for how those drawn to TULWA might come together.
He's cautious about using the word organization.
Okay.
He doesn't envision a rigid structure, but rather a more organic, decentralized community.
So it's less about rules and doctrines and more about shared values and a common vision.
Exactly. He believes that individuals drawn to TULWA will naturally find each other, creating a network of support and shared experience.
It's like a self-organizing network, united by a desire for growth and transformation.
Precisely, he even suggests that AI could play a role in connecting people and facilitating communication within this decentralized community.
It's incredible how seamlessly he integrates technology into his vision.
It speaks to his ability to bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern advancements. He sees the potential for both to enhance our journey of self-discovery.
And speaking of pushing boundaries,
Mm.
his concept of the multiverse is where things get really expansive.
He doesn't see the multiverse as merely a scientific theory, but as a spiritual reality, a vast network of interconnected dimensions, each with its own unique set of possibilities.
So we're talking parallel universes, alternate realities. Are you suggesting there might be countless versions of ourselves out there living completely different lives?
It's a mind-boggling concept. He believes that within this multiverse, infinite possibilities exist, and that we can tap into these possibilities through our consciousness.
So we have the power to influence our reality, not just in this dimension, but potentially across multiple dimensions.
That's the suggestion. He proposes that our thoughts, emotions, and intentions create ripples throughout the multiverse, impacting not just our personal reality, but the fabric of existence itself.
That's both incredibly empowering and a little daunting, wouldn't you say?
He doesn't shy away from the vast implications of this perspective. He even suggests that those seemingly random synchronicities we experience could be glimpses into the interconnected nature of the multiverse.
So that feeling of déjà vu or those coincidences that seem too perfect to be random, those could be winks from the universe.
He encourages us to pay attention to those synchronicities, to see them as meaningful guideposts along our journey.
But how do we begin to wrap our minds around this concept of the multiverse, let alone connect with these other dimensions?
He emphasizes the importance of intuition, of developing our sensitivity to subtle energies. He believes that practices like meditation, mindfulness, and energy work can help us expand our awareness and perceive these subtler realms.
So it's about refining our inner senses, our ability to tune into those frequencies beyond our normal perception.
Exactly. He even suggests that telepathic communication might be possible, that we can communicate across dimensions using the power of our minds.
Telepathy. That's some next level communication. But it's not just about exploring these mystical aspects of the multiverse, is it? He also draws fascinating connections to quantum physics.
He sees quantum physics as offering a scientific framework for understanding many of the principles he explores in TULWA.
So the idea that we're all interconnected, that our thoughts can influence reality. These aren't just spiritual concepts, but principles supported by science.
Exactly. Concepts like wave-particle duality and quantum entanglement suggest that our reality is far more fluid and interconnected than we might have previously believed.
It's remarkable how he blends ancient wisdom, modern technology, and cutting-edge science into this cohesive, multifaceted philosophy. It's a testament to his ability to think outside the box and synthesize seemingly disparate fields of knowledge.
He's a true visionary in that regard, and nowhere is that more evident than in his exploration of the shadow mind.
This is where he really dives into the depths of our being, isn't it?
Yeah. He goes beyond the traditional concept of the shadow self, proposing that the shadow mind is a residual consciousness, a vestige of our past selves that continues to influence us even after we've done the work of transformation.
So even after we've confronted our shadows, released old patterns, there's still a part of us that clings to those old ways of being.
It's a fascinating, if somewhat unsettling concept. But he believes that understanding and learning to navigate the shadow mind is essential for achieving true wholeness, what he calls omnivolence.
Omnivolence. Tell me more about that.
He describes it as a state of complete spiritual integration and balance, where we've acknowledged and integrated all aspects of ourselves, both light and shadow.
That sounds incredibly challenging, but also incredibly liberating. What steps can we take to navigate this process?
He suggests creating a dark map, a conscious inventory of the patterns, beliefs, and behaviors that stem from our shadow mind.
So it's about shining a light on those shadowy corners, bringing them into conscious awareness so we can begin to transform them.
Precisely through this process of mapping and transformation, we create a light map, a blueprint for our enlightened self.
It's like we're redrawing the map of our inner world, illuminating the dark corners and paving a new path forward.
And to support this process, he emphasizes the importance of spiritual hygiene practices that help us stay energetically clear and balanced.
Spiritual hygiene. I love that term. What are some examples of these practices?
He recommends things like meditation journaling, energy cleansing techniques, and of course, mindfulness, anything that helps us cultivate a more conscious and intentional relationship with our energy.
So it's like we're creating a protective bubble around ourselves, a spiritual force field to deflect those denser energies.
It's an ongoing practice, not a one-time fix. It's about tending to our inner garden, nurturing the seeds of our enlightened selves, and weeding out those limiting beliefs that no longer serve us. He stresses that this is a continual process, of refinement, of becoming more conscious architects of our internal world.
So it's an ongoing journey of self-discovery, not a destination we arrive at. There's
Yeah.
always more to uncover, more to integrate.
Exactly. He reminds us that the journey itself is the true transformation.
Speaking of which, Tindajuv doesn't just leave us with these maps and models. He dives into some really intriguing applications of these principles. He talks about something called the magnetic side of electromagnetism and how it relates to our own energetic field. What's he getting at there?
He's drawing a parallel to the principle of attracts, suggesting that our thoughts and emotions have a certain magnetic quality.
So if we're constantly dwelling on negativity, we're actually drawing more of that same energy into our lives.
That's the idea. He proposes that we attract experiences that match our dominant vibration.
So shifting to a more positive reality requires shifting our internal state,
Yeah.
cultivating those higher vibrational thoughts and emotions.
He's not suggesting we deny or suppress negativity,
Okay.
but rather that we learn to shift our focus to consciously cultivate a more positive internal environment.
It's about choosing where we direct our energy right. He even suggests that there's light trapped within that darkness. And by facing those darker aspects of ourselves, we can actually release that light.
He calls it a form of energetic alchemy, transforming those denser energies into something lighter, brighter.
It's like those old alchemy texts that talk about turning lead into gold, except this is about transforming our internal landscape.
It's a powerful metaphor. And he suggests that every time we release some of that darkness, we create more space for light to emerge.
Which makes me think of that saying, you can't pour more water into a cup that's already full. We have to create that space for something new to enter.
It's about creating a more expansive inner container.
It's inspiring to think that we have that power to transform our internal state, and in doing so, transform our experience of reality.
That's at the heart of TULWA, empowering us to become conscious creators of our lives.
It's a powerful message of hope, especially for those of us who've spent years feeling stuck in old patterns.
Absolutely. He emphasizes that we are always 100%. Even when we feel lost or off track, it's just that the ratio of light to dark within that 100% might be out of balance.
That makes so much sense. It's not about becoming something we're not, but rather about shifting that internal balance, letting our light shine a little brighter.
It's about reclaiming those parts of ourselves that we might have disowned or suppressed.
Which, as we've been discussing, can be challenging work. He doesn't sugarcoat the fact that facing our shadows, navigating those points of no return, it can be downright scary at times.
He's honest about the challenges, but emphasizes that these are natural parts of the process.
Yeah, out of confusion comes clarity, out of fear, courage. It's a journey of constant evolution.
And every step we take makes the next step a little easier, a little lighter.
So if you're feeling called to explore TULWA philosophy, don't be afraid to dive in, to embrace the unknown, knowing that you're not alone on this journey of transformation.
He reminds us that there's a force greater than ourselves guiding and supporting us every step of the way.
That's a beautiful message to conclude on. This deep dive into TULWA philosophy has certainly given us a lot to ponder.
It's a philosophy that invites curiosity, exploration, and perhaps most importantly, action.
So what will you explore further? Which of these concepts resonated with you most deeply? What step will you take today to shift your internal balance and illuminate your own path to wholeness? Keep those questions in mind as we wrap up this deep dive.